Hey guys, we are back and now we are ready for the brushless install in the brand new Arrma Typhon Grom, which just officially launched today for pre-order on their website. We're going to be installing the brand new, just released Hobbywing XE Run 2848 censored brushless motor and the Hobbywing Quick Run 10BL60 brushless censored ESC. I have done a little more research and fitting on this off camera to confirm my suspicions. The factory Typhon heatsink is sloped towards the outside because there is not enough room for this heatsink to be flat on top. It would interfere with the body. You can, however, fit a fan partially on the heatsink, approximately like this. So you at least have some airflow over the motor, not a whole lot. We may need to do something else. I do not think that the fan is going to fit here with the longer motor, but we will see. I've already taken a bunch of screws out, so this center support should be ready to lift out with the factory motor. And you can see the 18 tooth pinion on there. We'll go ahead and slide that off. We're actually not going to use the 18 tooth on the new setup. We got something a little spicier we're going to use, but I'm going to go ahead and take this off so I can put it into my spare bin of Grom parts. If you check out Arrma or Horizon Hobby's website, they do have all the different part numbers and everything, so you can, nothing's available yet. All the Typhon specific Grom parts say either March or April back order, but I imagine they will be coming in soon. Control arm, steering linkage, hubs, all that is the same part number as the Granite Grom. As we discussed earlier, the shocks are a different number. It says they're the same length. It just says that they're thinner oil in it. That may be the case. They feel much nicer to me than the thicker oil ones that come in the Granite. Let's take a look at this new motor here. I've got a very similar motor in my Granite Grom, and I am extremely pleased with the performance, but I'm a super big Hobbywing fan, and so they finally offer something in this size. They previously offered a 24mm sensorless motor, which a lot of people use in the Groms, and it's a decent fit, but 24mm is smaller than the stock motor. I don't know why you'd want to go smaller than the stock motor. It's definitely more powerful than the stock motor going to a brushless setup, but you keep the 28mm, you're able to slap the same heatsink back on there. Everything else lines up. This is a bigger shaft than the factory motor. This is a 2.3mm shaft. This is a 3.175. I've used this in my other setups as well. There is a company called LC Racing that makes a bunch of different little buggies. So I think they're 16 scale buggies, and they use a mod 0.5 3.175mm shaft. And so I've got a couple of their different pinion gears here. I've got a 22, which is probably what I'm going to put on it. A long term, right now, I don't have a spare mount for a 22mm, so we're going to use the 21mm, or 21 tooth, sorry. We'll double check the pinion height here in just a moment. I think that's going to be about right there. Maybe we'll come out just a tad. And then we'll come back and throw some Loctite, get this on there permanently, but that should be good. You see where the fan would normally go is not going to fit there any longer. It's really close, but not going to fit. This is the fan itself outside of that cage. And even if it did go there, it's so close, it's going to obstruct all of the air. Maybe there's some happy medium in between the two. I don't know how effective it's going to be because you're going to have the sensor wire kicking right out the back there as well. So I don't know. I think that the fan askew on top of the heatsink is going to be the best option. Let me find my motor mount for the 21 tooth pinion here. Sorry, I should have had that ready for you guys. The other thing that I determined off camera is we removed our stock ESC servo mount here. This is the aftermarket one that, well, not aftermarket, but Arrma makes this one. It's very nice. Sits in there very nice. Gives you the factory servo mount bolt holes and a nice large platform to mount your ESC. However, just this little bit of additional thickness, it's not any underneath, it's very snug with the servo, but just the height of this pad did not allow the body to close once I put the ESC on top of that. That is how tight the space is on this thing. So I had a little brainstorming, and Hot Racing makes a ESC mount as well that I believe I mentioned earlier, and it's adjustable. It's got different bolt holes so you can slide the mounting of the platform, and then there's two, so you can slide. It's adjustable. Anyway, this is a little bit thinner than that plastic one. However, I think that this is still too tall. To get maximum clearance, I had the bright idea to just put these legs directly onto the servo. So now with these legs on the servo itself will mount into the chassis securely. And this is a large enough area. It won't be perfect, but it's a large enough area to properly secure my ESC directly on top of the servo, and I'm saving that 1/8 of an inch or whatever it works out to there on that ESC tray. That is just not going to happen otherwise. So let me go ahead and put this back in. And so there we go. So now I just have a blank servo surface that we're going to use. That was a mistake. To mount the ESC, let me pop this pinion off real quick. Got to put the mounting plate on first. I also need to take a look at which way I want this motor be facing. This is a dual bolt pattern. It's got 2 of the smaller bolt circles and 1 of the larger bolt circles. So I think we are going to want it, no, can't go like that. So I think we're going to go like this with the motor wires coming off towards the side, because there should be a good sized gap between the motor and the chassis here. Sensor wire coming out that way too. I don't think we'll have any interference. That all should be just fine there. With the larger bolts, you do kind of have to clearance the plastic mount just a little bit. I've had to do this on the other ones as well. You could take a drill and drill it out, or it's just plastic. You can just take it with your little cordless and just run it right in. The XE2848 does come with a little sensor wire, which is good. I had ordered one as a backup because I wasn't sure. Nice to know that it does. The motor also has manual timing adjustment, and then you can adjust it through the ESC as well. You take the 2 screws off the back end there, and there's a small gauge. You can get it to come out now. Where depending if it's clockwise or counterclockwise rotation, you can set your base timing through the back end housing. That is beautiful. We will need to take this in and out while we're soldering to those to the pads there. So we're not gonna put the center plate back on just yet. We will go ahead and figure out our ESC mounting. See how that's gonna use a piece of tape here just for mock-up earlier. Actually, I think I do want the center stack back on to do this. So see, there would be enough room for the fan to go here. I just don't know what kind of airflow you're gonna get. You're just blowing up against the butt of the motor, and it's just not gonna be ideal. You're gonna have all the wires bunching up right here, the sensor wire right there. There is a little void for the fan to try and pull air from right there, but I just don't know how effective that's going to be. I think you need something more over the motor itself, which this does have the nice Hobbywing signature ridges machined into the motor housing itself to help dissipate heat by increasing the surface area. So that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and get this soldered up, shorten these wires down quite a bit, try and keep everything as tidy as I can, and we will come back once that's all connected. Alright, so we've got our A, B, and C motor wires soldered up to the ESC. On a sensored setup, it is very important to get those correlated correctly. On a sensorless setup, it doesn't matter if you get them backwards. Verify we're looking good. I'm honestly concerned when I put a piece of real double-sided tape if it's going to increase this height too much. That's how close the tolerances are we're talking about here. It is very tight. Perfect. So we've got our motor mounted. We've got the ESC set where it's going to go. We've got our motor wires connected, sensor wire connected. Servo is ready to go to a receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and solder up the battery connectors here. Try and figure out where I'm going to put this cap pack. If I put it here, it may interfere with the fan idea. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. The other thing I had discovered off camera is these are the batteries I like to run. I have this graphene 2200 milliamp for 2S and a regular LiPo for 3S 2200. I compared these back to back against the CNHL batteries. Saw no difference at all. These are larger capacity. Very happy with these for the price. And you see they are a bit shorter than the factory battery. Not a ton, but since this is the long wheelbase model, my idea was, since I don't have a place to put the receiver, I don't want to put the receiver here or here, neither of which is an option now, that I think I can sneak the receiver right here in this front corner. And run my battery pack and strap right over top of it. Like so. All the wiring is perfectly accessible right there. I see no reason why this wouldn't work, and so then I just need to find the switch and cap pack, which I think those can go here and here respectively. And I think we got this figured out. Someone had commented trying to put the ESC here. You can see even with the shorter battery pack, that is not enough space. And then plus, if you put this down there, you've got all these wires coming out. They basically have to get strapped into the battery tray, or you'd have to build something else to run a smaller battery. Smaller batteries do exist. This is a 3S 2200 milliamp. This does not have the C rating. This is not a super good battery. That fits in there. That would be enough room for the ESC. You still have to have the problem with the strap. You'd have to maybe plastic weld or screw something into the chassis to shorten the strap to just that size. So that is an option if you wanted to explore it. I am pretty sure the Castle Micro X2 or whatever they call it is within a millimeter or two of this same height as this is without the fan. So that should fit here using the same mounting method. Maybe you guys can figure something else out too, but I think that this is going to be really good. It should be pretty well balanced battery wise. Slight rear bias, but not terrible. It's almost centered between the wheels. It is slightly towards the rear, and then the ESC towards the front. So I think this should work really well. I'm going to go ahead and solder up the battery connections and get some real double-sided tape on this so I can go ahead and mount it. I will hook up a battery after I make the battery connection and verify my rotation is correct, to verify my timing is set to advanced. Because if the motor rotation is opposite how it is wanted out of the box, I've got to rotate this rear bell housing. Otherwise, I'll be running retarded timing instead of advanced timing, and that would be no good. So let me go ahead and get that done, and we'll finish up. So I got things set in there temporarily, got my battery connection made. I always use the XT60 on the Groms. It's a nice small connector, not too bulky. I really don't like the Deans. And then the EC5, IC5, XT90, all that's just way overkill for this. I think that really fits chassis well. And then added bonus is most of the chargers that I've seen or used by default have the XT60 plug, so I don't even need an adapter to hook this to the charger. It just plugs directly in the charge port. This is a Storage Charge 2S battery. Definitely a lot spicier than the stock setup. On my Granite Grom with a very similar setup, but a 22 tooth instead of the 21 tooth, and some advanced timing, which I'll need to check the punch settings and timing settings in the ESC. I can do, I think, 52 or 53 on stock tires on 2S. So this should be very close to that once I adjust the timing and the other settings in there. I'm going to go ahead and mount this ESC permanently, mount that receiver. I've actually got a radio link I'm going to use instead if it'll fit. And we'll come back in a minute. Alright guys, I have got it all buttoned up. Ready to check it out? Look at that. Got everything in there as tidy as I could. Got the radio link receiver tucked up in the front of the battery tray. Got the Hobbywing 10BL60 ESC and the Hobbywing XE Run 2848 4600 kilovolt brushless motor censored. With the gyro. Still on a Storage Charge 2S. I neglected to charge up my batteries. I got them on the charger right now. We're going to charge them up, take it for a rip, see how she does. Alright, we're ready to test. We got our 2S LiPo. We got our GPS ready to go. Go ahead and hit start there. Set you guys up. Still messing with the gyro a little bit. Well, that's not ideal. "53 miles an hour, pretty much exactly what we were expecting. Matches what I get out of my granite Grom with almost the same motor combo, but 1 tooth less pinion. I'm running 26 degrees of advanced timing. Alright, hopefully my GoPro battery doesn't die here. We are set up again with the Typhon Grom. We are on 3S this time.